All right. Welcome back to Ivy Unleashed. Today is so exciting. We have never in the history of Ivy Unleashed had a musician on. And today is one that we have been raving about. She's going viral. She's got millions of downloads. She's all over the world. Morgan St. Jean, welcome to Ivy Unleashed.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
This is such a dream. Last night I was talking to my boyfriend about recording with you, and he's like, let's just take a minute. How cool is it that you get to interview your favorite artist? And I'm like,
oh, that's so cool.
This is so special because not only do we love your music, but we love what you stand for and the what behind your lyrics. So we're so excited to dive into all things you today.
Well, I'm very excited to chat with you guys, and it means a lot to me. It's very crazy to me that anyone would ever say I'm their favorite artist. So I really appreciate that.
Which is mind-blowing because, you know, when you hear someone's music and then you can go through their albums and then you find yourself searching for their old music. I've never done this before. Like, I've always been like, oh, they're like, you know, Beyonce's got a new album, and so you just listen. But with you, I was like, what was her first song? Like, where is she from? Like, I was going crazy. And the first time we had heard your music was when Do It Like a Girl was trending on Instagram, because we're always finding trending music. And then we went into a deep dive where we were like finding all of your songs.
Then we drove to Oklahoma, and so we were in a car together for 9 hours, and we just had you blasting. So that's really where we fell in love with you.
That's really cool. I really appreciate that because I do that with my favorite artists too. So it's cool that someone's doing that with me.
Yeah. So take us back to how you got to this moment. 'Cause now, like Andrea said, you're going viral on social media. People are becoming way more familiar with you and your music. So what was life like before this, leading up to you becoming a musician?
I mean, in a lot of ways, life has always been like this because I've always been a musician. That's very much just a part of my identity, and that's been a part of who I am since I was little. I've told this story before, but I started singing because my godparents got me a karaoke machine when I was like 4, maybe 5 years old. And I would sing, you know, Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears and the Spice Girls and things like that. And then I just kind of never stopped. And my parents got me a songwriting journal when I was like 9 or 10. And I sang in choirs and I did musical theater because that was sort of the only way to be in music in school. You know, there wasn't like songwriting classes and stuff at the time. And I just found any way that I could to write songs, to record songs, to sing, and I just never stopped. And somehow I ended up here, and I'm very grateful that I did.
Oh, that's amazing. And I'm a parent, and before we started recording, my 3 little ones were so excited to meet Morgan, especially Cora, my 11-year-old, because we've been rocking out to her music. And she was so excited to tell you the songs that she loves, which I do too, because I was so excited when I heard Not the Sun, because I was thinking it's a song about heartbreak. And I feel like all of your music is setting me up to just like be a parenting rock star, because I feel like that song I'm going to like send to her when she's going through her first heartbreak. And when she is thinking about, you know, like she already gets comments from boys about running like a girl and those types of things, which she's like the fastest kid in her school. So whatever. But she loves Do It Like a Girl. And so it's all of these, the messaging about owning your power and stepping into that. And I love to ask people about their parents and how they instilled this empowering message to you. Or is that just something you were born with and you've always kind of had the courage to say how you feel?
No, I definitely give a lot of credit to my parents. I'm so unbelievably lucky that I was raised by the people that I was raised by. My mom is like she's like the original badass. She is just so cool. She's so smart. You know, she was told that women couldn't do math, so she majored in math, got her master's, and worked on Wall Street. Like, she was just very badass, and she still is. And I think both of my parents, not only are they like my biggest fans, you know, they come on tour with me, they support me so wholeheartedly, but also I think they raised me in a way where they always talked about how capable I was. And, you know, I was getting a lot of feedback from them about how smart I was, how capable I was, how successful I'd be, how, you know, if I put my mind to something, I could do it. And so I think that inspired me a lot and certainly gave me the work ethic that I have. And then I think with things like, not songs like Not the Sun, some of that you can't know until you experience it. And, I've been through my fair share of heartbreak and tough times, and like I'm putting out a song tonight that's about my anxiety, and those experiences, even when they're difficult, I have a lot of gratitude for them because they allow me to connect with people and share my story in a way that helps other people.
And when you are in this helper role, this caregiver role, because really that's what you're doing. You're just doing it through music. It's important that you're taking care of you. And I feel like on tour, that's a different story. We can get into that later. But right now, like, what are some tools that you use to stay so grounded in these beliefs and in taking care of yourself?
That's something that I fluctuate on. Sometimes I think I'm doing a really good job of taking care of myself, and other times I think I'm running myself into the ground and doing a horrible job, and everyone in my life is like, "Dear God, Morgan, stop." I'm really big on movement and going for walks. I try to go for a walk every single day or work out every single day. Even like with my therapist, we'll walk instead of like sit in an office like traditional therapy, because she basically explained to me that I am such an overthinker and I have so many kind of ruminating thoughts that sometimes getting out of a room and getting into my body is really helpful. So I think like walking, movement, that's really, really helpful for me. Therapy, obviously, I'm like a huge proponent of therapy. Everyone in my life I've convinced to go to therapy at some point. I think it's just amazing and so powerful. And this is a weird one, but I think, well, I would say two more. I journal a lot. I like to write things out, whether it's my feelings, whether it's my goals, whether it's a gratitude list. I write a gratitude list every single morning. That's a big one for me. But also a sleep routine, I think, is a really big one for me. I've struggled with insomnia for like a long time, and I can feel the difference in my sleep if I watch TV before going to bed, or if I read before going to bed, if I, am scrolling on my phone before I go to bed, or if I'm, taking magnesium and going to bed early, you know what I mean? So I can really feel the difference. So I try to really prioritize my sleep routine. Because when I'm not sleeping and I get into like an insomniac phase, it's awful.
I keep thinking about though is like, if you don't take good care of yourself, you'll have some cool lyrics for how you should take care of yourself. And then if you do take good care of yourself, it's like good advice for people. Like, I feel like anything you write in that journal is probably magical. And I keep thinking about Not the Sun, because all the lyrics are like the planets and the stars and the sun, and it's so creative.
Thank you.
On top of that, you have a lot of we would call them maybe unfiltered lyrics. And so you've got songs about women's rights, heartbreak, LGBTQ, sexual assault. The ones we love the most too are about women empowerment. A lot of these lyrics, I feel there's probably some people that don't like them. And so I want to talk about that, like what it's like, because clearly you have courage and you're a badass and you're everywhere and people love it. But I'm sure, and you even wrote a song about this too, the people don't like it. So what is that like when you know you're putting out a song that's going to have both?
I think that I have really stepped into my power when it comes to online bullies. One of my best friends said to me a long time ago, when I started getting haters on the internet, he said, "Congratulations, because people now give a shit." And I was like, whoa, that's so true. And I found that, and that's what my song To the Bank is about, is really kind of taking advantage of the fact that someone who's hating on me is paying attention.
Which is the most badass song. Haters pay my bills. Oh my gosh, I love it so much.
Thank you. There's just such a fine line between hater and fan, because sometimes the haters are the ones who are watching everything you're doing. They're the first to watch your stories. They're the first to leave a comment. They don't, the algorithm doesn't care if it's a positive comment or a negative one. And so I've really grown to appreciate them, because most of my songs that have gone really viral and therefore connected with the most people have also had the most hate. So I kind of have just embraced it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not bulletproof. There was a period when I was on tour last time where I had a video from Do It Like a Girl go viral, and the comments were just ripping me apart. I mean, truly just, they were awful. But, and I was kind of starting to feel down about it. And my friend who was on tour with me, she was like, you know what we need to do? We need to look at who are like the people that are leaving these comments. So we just sat together on the tour bus and we clicked the profiles of these people who were like leaving nasty comments. And it was so funny because of course it's like, it's one of two things. It's either like, you know, Todd from Virginia.
Living in his parents'
There was one-
basement.
Yeah. And there was one that was like professional misogynist. And I was like, great, my target audience. Like, and then, or it's something like love and peace, spread love, like God is the way. And I'm like, but what? You know? So reading the profiles of these people who were leaving these comments actually made me feel so much better because I was like, it makes it so much easier to believe that they're projecting their own insecurities and their own issues onto me.
Yeah. I even feel that way with some videos we've got where I'll look and I'm like, are you even a real person?
Right.
Like you see it and then you have that immediate like, oh, just shot to the heart. And then you, like you said, do a little more digging. You're like, okay, no, you do not deserve the energy.
Like, thank you for the engagement and goodbye.
Yes.
Yeah.
What does that do to your inner critic though? Because you are getting on stages and you're getting, you know, in front of a million people. And so I can only imagine your inner critic. How have you kind of played with that and developed that relationship over the years?
Oh, that is, I mean, I am definitely my biggest critic for sure. I struggle with, I call myself a recovering perfectionist because I definitely struggle and not only creatively, but just as a human being, I have a lot of fear around being imperfect. But I don't know. I think I've been doing this now for long enough that I can kind of try my best to quiet those voices, and I've been able to surround myself with people who lift me up and remind me when I'm doing something well. And I think at some point you get enough rejection from other people that you realize rejecting yourself doesn't help. So you have to be your own biggest fan because otherwise you're going to let those voices win.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people, I would say, that are probably relying on you for their inspiration. I mean, the videos of you singing Skin and Bones is like, oh, chokes me up. It like could cry thinking about it. Which that song just is so beautiful. And then the like montages people have made to Skin and Bones. Can we talk about that song? I might have heard that it might be one of your favorites too. But what was it like creating that song and having people hear it?
That was definitely the most nervous I've ever been to release a song, just because I think, you know, I'm born and raised in Los Angeles. LA is a very accepting, loving place where you don't have to label yourself. You don't have to define anything really. It's just sort of part of the culture and the environment that people just spread love, and Pride is like a huge party, and it's just a big, to me, it feels like a very loving and accepting place. But that when I released that song, that was really the first time that I said anything about it. And I didn't really feel like I had wanted to say anything about it before, but I started thinking about my fans and thinking about if that would help them. And that's really my mission in life and in music, is to help people. And so I sort of felt like I owed it to them to say something about it, because I understood that my experience growing up in LA and growing up with such a loving family and such loving friends who don't even think about it, it doesn't even cross their mind, is not the case for so many people.
Right.
And so I wanted to release this song as a way of saying to my fans who aren't having that experience, like, I'm with you, I see you, I think you're beautiful, I think you're worthy, I think your love is beautiful. And maybe it can be just as simple as loving people, and we don't have to label it, we don't have to define it, we don't have to come out, we don't have to do all these things. We can just love. And like, maybe that's okay, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, but singing it live is just, honestly, it's indescribable. I've never felt so connected to people that, I mean, it's weird to even call them strangers because I feel like they're not, but technically they are, you know? And it's just, it really is a reminder of like our humanity and just how similar we all are as people. One of my favorite quotes of all time is this Maya Angelou quote. She said, all great artists draw from the same resource, the human heart, which shows us that we are more alike than we are unalike. And I always feel that way when I sing that song live. I'm like, oh my God, we're all just humans having this human experience.
Just wanting love and acceptance. Yeah. And you have some videos on your TikTok about your headlining experience in December in LA and how emotional that was for you and your audience. It was so beautiful. This is what I love about TikTok and Instagram. It's like we get to experience it with you. Like we feel like we were on stage with you or in the crowd with you. It was so beautiful. And we're just curious because we know nothing about the music industry, like nothing. But we can only imagine the tenacity and the resiliency you've had to build with no's and like just pushing your music and trying to get someone to like get it out there. What has that been like from the beginning or like as a high schooler until now where you have this gift, but like to get it elevated? What has that been like?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's brutal. I probably thought of quitting more times than you would imagine. Like,
Thank you for not.
yeah, thank you. I still think about it sometimes, but I'm still here. No, it's hard to describe. I remember at one point when I was thinking about giving up, I said to my therapist, I wish there was like a rehab for broken dreams because I was just so beaten down emotionally. And I felt like not that many people could really relate to what I was feeling. And it was this weird thing of like people would tell me I was talented or people would say, that they liked my voice, but that was where it ended. And I would put like my heart into every single opportunity that I thought was going to pan out as something. And it never did for so long. And I would see other people surpassing me. And that was really hard for me too, because even if I knew that they deserved it too, it was like, but what about me? I think I deserve it. I'm working really hard. I want this so badly. I would do anything to succeed at this. This is my passion. This is what I feel like I was put on earth to do. But I think what shifted for me is really realizing that I was going to have to do everything for myself, but that's also really empowering. Because I think I spent a long time waiting for, some dude in a suit to come flip a magic switch and suddenly I would be Taylor Swift and everything would be done and it'd be great. And when I realized that I was going to have to do everything from the ground up by myself, it was intimidating, but like I said, it was also really empowering because it meant that I could have complete creative control. It meant that I could really be in touch with my fans as I started to develop a fan base and be in communication with them at all times and just be really in charge of my own life and my own career. So I really value that now.
That's so badass.
So badass.
And it's like the power of social media now, right? Like that's one benefit. Like we feel so connected to you and we wouldn't if we didn't have Instagram and TikTok. And I think so many times people talk about the negatives.
Yeah.
But that's definitely something like we're grateful for because of your music. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we would have heard it, maybe 2 weeks later, but
or
you know what I mean?
longer.
I'm so happy we
Would you
had
say
it.
social media is what shifted the game for you? Or was it something else that really helped elevate you?
Definitely social media,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I attribute any success that I've had basically to social media. And I agree with you. I think, obviously social media has downsides and can be a very negative place, but I've been really fortunate that I've found this community that's just so supportive and they really like hold me accountable when it comes to my songwriting. And I'm thinking of them a lot when I'm writing songs because as much as when I'm writing, it's about my own experience, but at the same time, I'm talking to my fans in my DMs every single day. They're my friends now. I've met some of them multiple times and we chat all the time. And so it holds me accountable because I want to write songs that actually say something, that actually might impact them, that actually might help them. Because I feel like I know them so well at this point.
Yeah, it's like your greatest tool because you can listen to what they need. It's the same thing like any content creator. I think too, what's going to resonate because you're actually giving a shit about your audience.
And you are giving value. Like I did a challenge in the end of the fall where I had to be outside for 45 minutes a day. And sometimes it was like snowing and windy. And I'm like listening to Right. And I'm like walking, I'm strutting out in the country roads, listening to Morgan St. Jean.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I also think in the morning when I'm walking on the treadmill, people got to think I'm just nuts because I go from like asleep and then I'll put on Good Swimmer and it just hits me and I feel unstoppable
Ooh, I was rage cleaning the other day to Morgan. Oh my gosh. My house was the cleanest house you've ever seen in your life.
That's amazing.
So until we can
so
come
cool.
see you live.
Yes.
we're
When are
just
you
taking
coming to
you
Minneapolis?
Everywhere.
Oh, I hope soon. We're working on hopefully some US tour stuff, hopefully. So somehow I've just ended up in Europe, which I'm not complaining because Europe is amazing.
That's awesome.
But this will be my third time in Europe within the last like 8 or 9 months. So I definitely need to do some shows in America.
Maybe we just go find her.
I'll go to Europe.
Let's go to Europe.
What is that
Not to
like
LA.
though? That
What's
too.
that?
I'd go to LA.
Oh, yeah.
What is that like being on tour? The energy and then how you take care of yourself to stay grounded when your sleep is off and you're traveling and it's just a different universe, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I think it's funny because it's this really weird experience where it's this thing that I dreamt of for so long. And I was like, I'll know I made it when I get to go on tour, which like is such bullshit. But in my head, that was the case. And it sounds so glamorous. I'm like, I'm playing for thousands of people every night and I'm in Europe and I mean, it's amazing for so many reasons. I've gotten to meet so many people face to face where before it was like I would see these numbers online, but I couldn't really make the connection that those were real people, you know? So getting to meet some of the fans for the first time has just been amazing. Seeing people getting my lyrics tattooed on their bodies is just like insane, or wearing my name on their t-shirt. It's wild. It's so cool. But I think mentally it's so much harder than I ever anticipated. And I think anything, if you think it's going to be the best thing in the entire world, most likely it's going to not meet expectations in every capacity. And for me, touring is the best thing in the entire world for so many reasons. But I think I have to go into it mentally knowing that it's not all, you know, rainbows and butterflies, because it is really challenging. And you're waking up in a new place every day that you're not familiar with. You're not around friends and family, especially when I'm in Europe. It's not like I can just call my people at home because half the time they're asleep or whatever. You know, you don't really speak the language. You're not living like lavishly. You know, last time I was on a bus, and so the only space that I really had to myself was my bunk. So there's a lot of challenges that come with it, but for me, the benefits far outweigh those.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Just thinking about that life where it's like, it's so funny to think about like your dreams in your younger self, and then you're doing it and you're like, you know, you have to have that expectation management of like, okay, I'm in this, like I'm living in this dream that I hoped for. And I'm sure you want to be grateful, but when you're exhausted, and so I'm so glad you have those practices you were talking about earlier. So are you like journaling on this bus?
So for me, the main thing that I did to keep any amount of sanity on the last tour was I would get up every morning. And granted, the sleep schedule is bizarre because I was going to bed at like 3 a.m. and waking up at like 10 or 11. And you don't even know, you wake up and you don't know where you are. So I would check my phone, I would check the weather and be like, what city am I in?
Oh my gosh.
Half the time you're like underground in a garage. It's so crazy. It is so bizarre. I had a little window in my bunk though, so that was helpful. But my first thing that I would do is I would get up, brush my teeth, get dressed, and just go for a walk. And I would find a coffee shop that was like a mile away or whatever, walk there. And if it was warm enough, I would, you know, try to sit outside, get some sunshine. If it was chilly, I would just sit in the coffee shop and I would just read or watch YouTube videos. Or I just like, I had to, I think, when you're living on a bus with 15 people, it's weird because it's lonely, but you're also surrounded by people all the time. And for me, because I was the support act, it sort of felt like I was living in somebody else's house. And that wasn't on them at all. I mean, the band that I opened for, they were, oh my God, they could not have been more incredible. The whole team was so wonderful, but you don't have your own space. So for me, I really needed to like take time every morning to just go find my own space and
That's
just not be
brilliant.
around people, be with myself, and just kind of decompress a little bit.
That's so
it's-
smart.
It's nice to get the inside scoop.
I know.
Like what this is like.
I'm curious too. So this has been a dream of yours for so long, and now you finally have it. And through listening to your music, energy is another one of my favorites. We know that abundance and visualization, manifestation are things that you do. So what up until now, what were those practices like? Have they shifted at all? I love anyone who believes in manifestation and that they do it. I just want to know everything about what they've practiced and still do.
Yeah, I'm so into all of that stuff. I think that a lot of, and there's so many like buzzwords that everyone's talking about, manifestation, lucky girl syndrome, whatever. I'm here for it. I'm all in.
Same.
And to be honest, I think a lot of those like practices for me are what got me through the times when I was like, I don't want to be a musician anymore. I can't do this. It's not working. I've tried everything. It's not working. I'm done. And those practices, I think, really kept me going. I think the thing that I've learned is, first of all, everyone's practice of what it is, the actual physical practices is so different. And you have to find what works for you. For me, writing 5 things every single day that I'm grateful for is really, really helpful. It just grounds me. It reminds me how blessed I am. It reminds me how lucky I am. It reminds me that 5 years ago I would have killed to be in this position, But I think the whole thing with manifestation for me is it's not so much, okay, granted, my phone background is literally a vision board right now.
Yes.
And into like the woo-woo parts of it as well. But I think the overall vibe of manifestation for me is a mindset. It's like existing in this mindset of optimism, positivity, hope. It's like looking for, your brain is going to see whatever you're looking for, right? There's like that metaphor or whatever, that analogy that if you think of a red car, you're more likely to see red cars. And so I've really been working to train my brain to see the good stuff and to see opportunities and to see, the luck in my life. And one of the things that I started with doing was I just convinced myself that I had good parking karma because parking in LA is a freaking nightmare. And so anytime I would go anywhere, and I still do this all the time when I'm with my boyfriend, when I'm with my friends, I'll be like, well, I have great parking karma. We always find a spot 100% of the time.
I said the same thing to her in Oklahoma. I said, I'm starting this new thing. Thank you, Lord, for a spot right up front.
Yeah.
And it happens.
It happens.
Exactly. And the thing is, even if I don't get a spot right out front, I'm not really that stressed about it anymore because in my head, I've got great parking karma, so it's fine, So I think like taking that in a way that's like making it a part of your identity. Like after my first tour, I was really scared I would never get to tour again. I was like, oh my God, what if this was it? This was my like one and done and I'm never going to get to tour again or whatever. And I sort of just had to be like, no, because I'm a touring artist.
Ooh.
That's part of my identity. That's what I tell myself. I'm a touring artist. And sure enough, here we are,
I keep thinking, okay, 2 things. One, I keep thinking whenever you ask her a question, she's going to answer in song. Like I thought she was just going to start singing Energy.
Yeah, like it's kind of weird that I'm not here. I'm like hearing music in my head right now,
too.
seeing your face.
And I just I keep saying, like anybody that I talk to about today, I'm like, I just know that you're going to be on stage getting a Grammy and we're going to be like, we knew it. We knew it. We had our Ivy Unleashed.
Oh,
And I just see it. Like your music is transformational for people. It touches people. It's so beautiful. I'm excited that my girls have you to listen to as they get older and like go back to your early songs until, because you're just going to keep making music. And I'm just so happy that you exist for them, for me to feel like a badass out on country roads. Like, I'm just so happy that you're creating what you're creating. It's so beautiful.
That is so nice. I honestly don't even really know how to respond. My imposter syndrome is just going crazy right now. But thank you. That really means a lot to me. And honestly, I think if I can positively impact anybody in my life, then I think I fulfilled my purpose. So it really means a lot to me. And I take the responsibility of being a role model very seriously.
You absolutely are. And it's one thing to be obsessed with someone's music and have the voice that you have, but to have the heart behind it, you are absolutely worthy of all of the success. The Grammys.
Yes.
We're here for it.
They're coming.
Yes. And you mentioned imposter syndrome, and that has me thinking, when you are an artist, it's so important to get in that flow state. And it's tough when the inner critic is loud and you got the imposter syndrome. So what is it like for you to get in the flow state? What helps you? I'm curious.
I once heard Smokey Robinson speak, and he said, you don't get inspired. You sit down and you do the work. and then inspiration hits, basically. I mean, he said it much more eloquently, but like, but the idea was sort of that if you want to be an artist as a profession, you can't just like twiddle your thumbs and wait for an idea to hit you. You have to sit down and get inspired. And there's a book, I forget the author, it's called Big Magic.
Yes.
Elizabeth Gilbert.
Elizabeth Gilbert, yeah.
So good.
And she kind of talks about that, this idea that genius or inspiration or whatever, it's not yours, it's something that's outside of you, and it's going to come to you whenever you're prepared to be the vehicle for that thing. And that is really how I feel about songwriting. My favorite songs, I really think all of my best songs are the ones where I sat down, I had like, you know, tiny ideas in my head that were just kind of floating around that were not super fleshed out. And I kid you not, they'll come out in 5 minutes. And it doesn't feel like they're mine. It doesn't feel like it feels like if I didn't write them, someone else would have, because they came from somewhere else and they're not even mine. I just happen to be the vehicle, and I'm grateful that I get to be. But for me, the work of getting those ideas is sitting down and doing it, you know? I'm never going to write a great song if I don't sit down to write a great song.
I love that. We call it Big Magic. Now you're a part of our Big Magic, because we'll be doing something and I'll text Brooke, I got Big Magic going on right now. Where it's just like good business ideas or whatever. And so now whenever we say that, we're going to think of you. That's awesome. That book is amazing.
So good. I want to reread it, actually. I also think one of the things that I really like about myself, and I think a lot of artists do this, is I could be inspired by the most mundane, like, thing that you might not even notice. You know, I could see a car and I'll come up with an entire life story of the person driving it, and then I'll write a song about that, you know, because I just think that life and being a human, it's so cool and it's so exciting, and there's so much to experience, and I want to experience it all. And so I think I can be really observant and get inspiration from things that are really not that like inspiring from the outside.
Yeah. Well, great. That means you're going to keep creating music for us. That's awesome.
I sure hope so.
And you said you have a new song dropping tonight, so tell us about it.
Oh gosh. This is an intense one. I think it's quite different than some of the other ones I've done. I mean, obviously I've released songs that I would consider intense in the past. My song Right, like you mentioned, my song Not All Men. But it's definitely more personal. It's called My Mind and I. And it's about my anxiety, which I've struggled with for quite a while. Like I said, I have insomnia and I'm a big overthinker. I'm a recovering perfectionist. I have like constant thoughts in my head that can be really overwhelming. And I have the word feel tattooed on my body because I think feelings are really beautiful, but I've had to work really hard to learn how to utilize them as a tool instead of let them kind of overcome me. So, and I'm still really working on that. But yeah, it's sort of the narrative of the song is I basically paint this picture of my mind and I as like a toxic relationship. So in the verse and the pre-chorus, you don't really even know that I'm talking about myself until I say my mind and I, we don't get along. And I wrote it just at a time when, to be honest, I felt like my brain was being hijacked. I felt like I wasn't in control of my own thoughts. And I felt like my brain was like my biggest enemy. It didn't feel like it was a part of me. It didn't feel like we were on a team. It didn't feel like we were working together. And so I just kind of personified that. And it was one of those songs where I went in with Alex, who's my producer, who I do everything with, and my friend Sid. And I said, I'm really not in a good mental space. We might get absolutely nothing out of this. Don't be mad at me if we get nothing. And I said, but I have this idea about like my mind and myself and my relationship with myself, basically. And I said, Alex, can you play some sad chords? Because I am sad. And he did. And the chorus, I think I probably sang the whole chorus minus a few lyrics here and there in like one go.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hear this.
That's how you know it's going to be good, because you were just the vessel and it was meant to come through you. Because even just hearing you explain it, like I can totally relate to that. I feel like I am kind of in that season right now. So this is divine timing. And thank you for listening to that voice and sharing your vulnerability, your struggle. I think it's easy to be like, I'm not ready yet, or I don't know, but to be open.
Or this is too personal or too negative. Like, your music, it is so personal. And that's why we feel it so deeply. It just feels so authentic. I feel like when you hear a musician sing, you can tell that it's like for fame, or it's to like, cross off something they're supposed to be doing. Like yours is like, it hits you in the heart and you just feel that it's from your soul. And so, we're just so thankful.
I hope you'll like it. To be honest,
I'm sure
very
we will.
nervous because I'm not nervous to talk about like my anxiety or anything. I think, like I said, Skin and Bones was really the first time I was like, oh, I'm scared to release a song. I'm really an open book. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I think I owe that to my fans, and I think I owe it to myself too. But the reason I'm nervous to release this one is because I do feel this like a little bit of an obligation to write songs that make people feel better. And I don't know that this one's going to make people feel better. If anything, I hope it makes them feel not alone if they know the feeling.
Which makes them feel better in return.
Yes.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. How can we best support you and your music? I know there's a lot of different ways to access you. What would be most impactful and helpful for you?
I mean, just listening to the music and sharing it with friends, adding it to playlists, making TikToks or Instagram reels to it. All of those things are really so helpful. And my goal in life is to just impact as many people as I can. So the more people that know about my music and then potentially connect with it, the better for me. And just it makes me feel so fulfilled. So just spreading the word and listening. And if you don't like it, no harm, no foul. If
they're going to like it.
To a playlist.
They're going to like it. If they don't, they're going to hate on it, which is going to help your algorithm, which is going to be great.
If you hate it, make sure to leave a comment.
Yeah. Share how much you hate it. Also, this episode at this point is touching 90 countries. So that's going to help it too.
That's so cool.
Yes. Yeah. And something we do on every show is we always wrap up with 3 segments. The first one is 3 gold stars. So this could be any 3 tips or takeaways you'd want to give our listeners.
Okay, 3. First of all, I would say that you are enough as you are. You don't need to be anybody else. You don't need to try and change who you are to be interesting enough or to be unique. I fell for that for so many years, and it's just dumb. You are absolutely enough as you are. You are interesting enough as you are. You are cool enough as you are. Just be yourself. Wait, are they supposed to be like emotional like that, or are they?
They can be whatever you want, but
that was meant to be. That was
beautiful. You just keep talking. Whatever you say is great.
I'm like, oh God, was I supposed to tell people to drink water?
No.
Okay, that'd be number 1. Number 2 would be
drink water. No.
Yeah, drink water. The hardest part is almost always just starting. So don't be afraid to suck. Just start. If you want to be a songwriter, write a song, then you're a songwriter. Like for me, I need to hear that because I was talking about I want to start a podcast. I need to just do it, That's the hardest part. So the hardest part is starting. And go to therapy.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I like those. Oh, perfect. Okay, our next segment is Unleashing Ivy. So these are our kind of 3 rapid fire questions, but not really rapid fire, just questions we're curious about that we didn't get to touch on yet.
Okay.
My question is about I want to go back to the manifestation, the visualizations, a tool, a practice that you are using that is new to you that you're obsessed with right now.
That is new to me that I'm obsessed with.
Or that you're just kind of starting to dabble with.
Ooh.
Something you heard of, maybe you read about in a book or a podcast, and you're like, ooh, I want to try that.
You learn because you're all over the friggin' world.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the whole making a vision board as your phone background is sort of new to me. I only started doing that like a month ago. But I really like it because I see my phone all the time and, I'll catch one thing and be like, oh, that's cool. I forgot about that. And part of mine is it's not only like, here, I can like show it.
Yeah, I want to see it. I just did this with my background. I made one on a big poster and then I'm like, oh, I saw a TikTok. I'm going to make it my desktop. Now I'm going to make it my phone. Thank you.
Yeah. So mine's just like a little collage that I made on Google, whatever. And some of it's like words, like grateful, take the risk, whatever. But some of it is pictures of me because it's to remind myself of the things that I have achieved that I dreamt about a few years ago. So like there's a picture of me getting my platinum plaque for my song with Loud Luxury. There's pictures of me on stage on tour because I always wanted to go on tour. So it's kind of a combo of putting the things that I aspire to next to things that I've achieved because it makes it feel like the things I aspire to aren't as far away.
Yeah. Like I'm
Brilliant.
already doing it, and
This is just next.
yeah, it's like
I don't have to
gratitude
go from
and
A to Z because I'm already at B.
Oh, God, you're brilliant.
I love it.
I don't know about that. Thank you.
I feel like I always take it dark, but here we go.
Okay.
I'm curious. Gosh, I have 2 questions. Which one do I want? Okay, I'm just gonna give you a compliment first. I was gonna talk about the musicality, just like how the beat drops and just like how you even create this with your crew. But I really want to go dark because I want to hear from you, like in the music industry, something that made you have to be like really resilient, like a story or something that happened where you really had to, like you said, you almost gave up or you have almost given up. Like what got you through that and over that hump? And what was it?
Oh, I mean, there's so many things that made me want to quit from the classic sleazy dudes trying to take advantage, um, acting like I was dumb, acting like I wouldn't know better. That's really awful to experience. And you kind of think that it won't happen. Like, for example, I was in a shitty record deal and I never thought I would be in a shitty record deal because I knew to avoid shitty record deals. And I was raised by people who read contracts all the time and we're smart business people. So I thought that would never happen to me and it still happened to me. So I think there's a lot of moments, but the biggest one is I always thought that if I worked really hard at something, I would succeed at it. And it's hard because like that's not really necessarily the case. Or if anything, it's a long time before you see the results or like, the kind of fruits of your labor. I remember my mom compared it one time. I was so frustrated. I mean, it was just like years of me going into sessions every single day, sometimes twice a day, writing songs for other people if I felt like they might, have more connections or whatever in the industry, or they might have more of a platform than I did. You know, releasing music to get 1,000 streams or something and just feeling so beaten down and watching my friends get these big record deals or get these amazing managers or agents or whatever, like all of this stuff. And I thought I couldn't figure out why it wasn't clicking for me. And I remember my mom said she felt like when she stopped working on Wall Street and she became a mom, she felt like it was the hardest thing because she always worked hard and then she would get an A. And if she got an A, she could go to a good college. And if she went to a good college, she could get a good job. And it's all so linear. And she said when I started being a mom, she was like, I realized that I wouldn't really know if I did a good job until like 18 years later. And she compared that to what I was going through because she was like, all of this might just be for 5 years down the line. And you're not going to know until you get there. And so that really just kept me going because it made me feel, it made me feel like I'm not the only person alive who's feeling this way, but B, it made me feel like maybe if I'm just patient enough, it'll matter. It'll work out.
We need to hear that.
Yeah. It's like if you don't stop, you're not going to get there if you stop.
Right.
Yeah. The one thing that's for sure is that if you quit, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, something that you're doing a beautiful job is having integrity along the way. And that's something that I keep, when Brooke and I feel like we're getting burnt out or something, it's like, but we're still going to show up and we're still going to be on time for people. And we're still going to give it all we got and give as much value as possible. And it might not pay off in dollars this second, but in the meantime, we're going to stick to our values. We're going to provide value for people and like try and have fun and make some cool connections because you don't know, where your business is going to go or your music's going to go. But
Yeah.
I'm just so happy that your music is going and you're finally in that space because you deserve it. It sounds like it's been a long, rough road.
Yeah, it certainly has not been easy. I think I had a lot of delusions about what it would look like, and it hasn't been that, but I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. Okay, our last question, Morgan. If you could go back and tell younger Morgan one thing, what age would you choose and what would you tell her?
Oh God. Oh, there's so many things. Like, can I say yesterday, Morgan?
Yes.
No, I think I would go back to my teenage self. I went through, the horrible, I call it the big bad breakup. And I would tell her that not only is this going to make you stronger and, is this going to be something that you survive, but it's going to be something that makes you who you are.
That's
So
beautiful.
I think it's so hard when you feel like you're not going to survive something. So to know not only that I would survive it, but that it would shape me, I think would be really cool.
And create a really beautiful song for us to jam
Yeah,
out to.
exactly. And help other people. That's pretty cool too.
Oh, that is the name of your game. I love it. We are so thankful for your time, Morgan. This has been, we're like, is she really going to show up? Because
This is real life.
You are so huge. Like, it's just, you are like larger than life. And we can't wait to just keep watching. And tomorrow to hear your song. We're going to plug everything everywhere. We're going to keep sharing your music. It's so beautiful. It's so powerful. And you're even better than I thought you would be in person.
Oh my
So
gosh,
it's
thank
been
you.
an honor to meet you.
This was very cathartic for me. I feel like I needed to like remind myself of a lot of these things. So I appreciate it. And thank you so much for having me and asking thoughtful questions. And yeah, go listen to My Mind and I hope you like it.
Yes.
Oh, this was such a gift. We leave our listeners with a piece of gold, a quote that speaks to you. It could be your own quote that you love. Would you please sign off with your quote?
Yeah, I have my best friend got me a songwriting journal that says this quote on it because I think it's beautiful. It says, "Happiness is a journey, not a destination."
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold. I love it.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
I don't want this
Awesome. I wanna
moment to
come hang
end.
out with you.
Oh, we're going to come find you.
You know
and
what
hang out
is
with
so
you.
nice is this is all recorded, so we can just relive it anytime we want.